Chapter 17. World War III. Wars are big business and they stimulate a nation's economy. Wars and Western existence go hand in hand. Unfortunately, wars create the need for more wars and create a potential dependency. War kills people in the forces as well as the innocent, and it also creates the need for reconstruction. The need for war is driven by propaganda, and this is easy to do if you have control of the media, which has been achieved. War is driven by fear, and terrorism is based upon fear. Fear of potential, fear of what might happen but often does not, so fear has to be manufactured by governments as well as the controlled media. When people are consumed with fear, they can easily be manipulated and controlled. This is done in the form of terrorist attacks and false flags, which have almost become a part of everyday life, and becoming the norm, because it is almost becoming an accepted part of everyday life and is reported on the mainstream news channels. The manipulation of terrorism and false flags will be covered in the next section, but the science behind it has been perfected by the West so that the general public is asking for more protection and more security, and by doing this, civil rights are willingly being given away both to governments and private corporations, creating an ever-increasing police state. Russia does not play the same games that the West plays, and neither does the other superpower, that is China. That is a problem for the secretive societies that already run the majority of the world. The propaganda of the Western media tells the majority of the West that Russia is the problem and is a potential enemy. And many believe that the next world war will be directed towards Russia or China. Hopefully another world war will not happen, but Christopher Black has highlighted his analysis on the similarities on Western preparation to attack Russia, and he calls this Operation Barbarossa II. The Baltic Gambit in this operation resembles the original Operation Barbarossa, which was a code name for Hitler's attack on Russia during World War II, which killed more than 50 million people, and half of these were Russian. In World War II, Hitler awarded Thomas Watson, IBM founder, the Merit Cross, which was Germany's second highest honor because IBM collaborated with Hitler, helping him to organize the Holocaust by accounting, registering and transporting Jews to their death camps through the use of punch card computers. Other collaborators included Ford, General Motors, DuPont and the Randolph-Hart media empire, therefore making corporate America a funder of Nazism. With the help of the PNAC objectives for dominance of the world's resources and peoples, this is happening again due to corporate Europe, America and the controlled media companies. This initiative has happened already with the Russian intervention in Ukraine, where Russia has been blamed for a civil war by the Western media when it is a NATO-supported massacre in the east of the Ukraine, and this moves NATO ever closer to Moscow, and it privatizes the agricultural lands of the Ukraine. Some might say that the United States influences NATO, and some might say that the United States is NATO. Operation Barbarossa was funded by the Fed via WS, and the BIS funded Hitler's war on the Jews and on Russia. Peter Koenig, a reporter, economist and geopolitical analyst, comments that new money produced in some Eurozone countries to the tune of at least €500 billion, in excess of the allowed Eurozone quotas, buys government bonds and in turn finances government debts. He comments that knowing how World War II was funded, would it be a surprise if the Fed WS-run ECB follows instructions from Washington to turn a blind eye to the debt ratio limitations to produce, like the Fed does, worthless euros to fund a future WW3, thus copying the formula of the funding of World War II. He comments that the empire of chaos is always dancing on two weddings, funding a new war with Russia through debt imposed by Washington on its EU vassal allies, sanctioning Russia through the same EU vassals, which willingly accept the nefarious economic consequences for themselves, while the war machine of the United States reaps the benefits of its arms industry. This could only happen in a lunatic asylum, the asylum that is planet Earth. All the war propaganda, all the screaming and lies and hatred, comes invariably from people who are not fighting. This is a quote by George Orwell.